Well, you know what? We said he was going to be here, and he's just walked into the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, we should probably all stand up. Donald Trump is in the house,
Hey,
and
Mr.
here he is.
President, nice to see
Come on
you.
over.
Quick turnaround.
We've got a place for you.
That was very quick.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. President. How are you? Good to see you. Come get
Hey,
my
Mr.
job.
President,
We'll sit you right here in the
sit
middle.
right over here. I'm the official audio guy for today.
You have
Mr. President, welcome back.
you have so many jammers with you. We can't even use.
I know, we have to use these hard lines.
Let's put it right
jammers.
here,
I do.
like that.
Okay.
Very good.
Good job. Wow.
All right.
Glad you're
And
here.
we'll all sit down. 3, 2, 1. There we go. How are you?
I'm good. This is very nice.
Big night last night.
I've never sat in the middle.
It's great,
I've
right?
always
I don't
sat
think
over-
anyone,
It's the first.
no one sat in the middle.
I've never seen anybody sitting in
You've
the
got
middle.
the really good light.
This is the good lighting. How do we look? Oh, not so good.
Mr. President, don't you always do that first? The biggest interview, the smallest, the first thing you look at, you grab the lights, you go, move that pole over, you come over here.
You're a producer.
Lighting is very important. No, let's turn down the lights. No, I'm only
Well, what did you think of
nice
last night?
room.
What did you think of last
I
night?
thought it was great. I thought, it was for the Catholic Church, really, and for a lot of good people, a lot of good causes. And unusually, she didn't show up. You would have thought she would have shown up last night. You were surprised. We were all surprised. But they told me it's only teleprompter for the comedian. I said, give me the comedian. No. I didn't get, so I had to do it sort of like, and I liked it better. I think I liked it better. But, when I went, I said, is this a teleprompter speech? And I had a pretty long speech. And they said, so we don't use teleprompter. Then I get up there and see the comedian
Saw
using
it, too.
it. And he was good, too, by the way.
Jim Gaffigan's funny.
I thought he was good, yeah.
You know, Kamala Harris did not show up, as you know.
I did.
She sent a video from Saturday Night Live. We have seen historically a lot of Democrats, they turn to the guys at Saturday Night Live or The Tonight Show. They write all their material. Your material was real funny. Who wrote it? Who helped you with it?
Well, I've had a lot of people helping. A couple of people from Fox, actually. I shouldn't say that, but they wrote some jokes. And for the most part, I didn't like any of them. But I got
Did you see some highlights? I thought you did great.
Go ahead.
Watch.
Roll tape.
Catholic Church, you're helping the poor, educating children, and supporting the vulnerable. But if you really wanted Vice President Harris to accept your invitation, I guess you should have told her the funds were going to bail out the looters and rioters in Minneapolis, and she would have been here, guaranteed she would have been here. Guaranteed. It's a true pleasure to be with you this evening. Amazing pleasure. And these days, it's really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance. Anytime I don't get a subpoena, I'm very happy. But unfortunately, Governor Walz isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He's going to say he was. But I have to be careful, however, to understand that this will be the first time in the history of this event where jokes will be fact-checked, and they will be. All polls are indicating I'm leading big with the Catholic vote, as I should be, But I don't think Kamala has given up yet. She hasn't. Instead of attending tonight, she's in Michigan receiving communion from Gretchen Whitmer.
That
Mr.
was funny.
President,
That was funny.
you had a balance because you got to tell these jokes, but you're sitting next to people that don't like you at all.
Chuck Schumer's
so how
right
was
there.
that?
I know him very well. I guess he doesn't but he likes me enough. It's a little bit, it's hard to explain. I gave him his first check. When he was young, I was young. It was his first check. I don't know, is that good or bad? But it was the first check that he ever got. He was running for, I think, Assembly up in New York. And he got it from me. So
So we should blame you for the rise of Chuck Schumer.
right.
It's all on
blame me
you.
for
Right.
Chuck
Defeating Al
What?
It
D'Amato.
was New York.
What did Mayor Adams say to you? Because he's a Democrat, you're a Republican, but you can relate because of these subpoenas. Letitia James, she was in the back row.
The weaponization. No, look, I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone, I say it. But Adams, he came out against the immigrants, against the destruction of New York, frankly. He did the right thing. I said, he will be indicted within 6 months. And he was. They indicted him. Now, I don't know if it's legit. I haven't looked at it. But it seems very suspicious when he comes out against something they're doing. They're destroying the country. They are destroying our country. He was right. Go down the streets of New York. I went down the streets of New York 2 days ago, and I'm looking at migrants all over Madison Avenue, all over Fifth Avenue. I've never seen anything like it. I'll tell you, I've never seen. This is New York. You see empty stores. You never saw empty stores on Madison Avenue. You never see them. It's a shame. He did the right thing, but he got indicted, and they play weaponization. These are an evil group of people. These are really a bad group of people. I'm doing well with my stuff. I won in Florida. I'm winning all over the place. But, you know, what they want to do is keep him busy. Let me spend plenty of money fighting it and let him maybe. But I think so far it's backfired because the public understands. The win in Florida, that was the big case. That was the case, oh, you're going to lose. Now, he actually lost because he had documents, but he didn't have the presidential.
The documents case in Florida.
It was the documents case. That was, like they say, the big one. I don't know what's the big one, but the big one. And we had a very brilliant judge, a very fair judge, and I won the case. I won the whole thing. He didn't win. They said he was grossly incompetent, and based on that, they're not going to charge him. But the funny is, he can be president, but he can't go to court. They say he can't go to court because he's incompetent. So he can't go to court, so that's okay, but he's allowed to be president. So there's something wrong with our country when that happens. But I thought last night's it was
great.
I think it was terrible that she missed it because it's only been one person missed it in many years, and that's Walter Mondale, and he lost 49-1.
But let me ask you, why do you think she missed it?
God was not with him.
Mr. President, why do you think she missed it? There's a lot of theories.
Okay, I think that she's not competent. I don't want to say this kind of stuff, but we can't live with this. We're not going to be able to live with it.
So you don't think she's funny?
I don't think she's funny. I don't look her staff. She's got 5% of her staff stayed with her. 95% quit. If that happened to me, I'd be front page of every. Nobody likes her. Nobody wants to be with her. And I only say this. I don't like even saying it, but we can't have her as a president. She's a Marxist. We're not ready for a Marxist. Do you agree with that, Nancy?
I do agree with you.
I think a Marxist.
Yeah, let me ask you this.
And she's not very good. Let's just face it.
Closing argument time, because we're only 2.5 weeks until the election. So this is the final, this is it. So she realized, joy, that's not working for them.
Not
so now
working too well.
they've changed it. Now they're ramping up their rhetoric. And when she sat down with Bret Baier, she said, talking about you, he's unstable. When she was speaking at a rally in Erie, Pennsylvania, she called you unstable and unhinged. And then in this new ad that they've rolled out, she's saying unhinged, more unstable, and unchecked. And then this caller that called into Charlemagne the God, his Breakfast Club show, this caller says, I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white in camps. And I'm scared. And she says, yeah. So you've hit on a really important point. What is your response and what is your closing argument?
Well, first of all, the question is a pretty rough question because, you're giving this whole argument of this woman that I don't think she knows where she is. She's a low IQ person. She's not smart. Everyone knows that. Didn't even pass her law exam. It was a big thing. She never thought she was going to be able to pass it. If you tell me this stuff, I'll say it. I am a person that they are a threat to democracy. These people are misinformation people. They'll say, let's go out with this one. They've tried many different things. They tried, he's a dictator. He's going to take over the whole world. He's a this. Every week they try something else. So far it hasn't worked. I guess that's the attack they have for this week. It doesn't seem to be working. I am the most stable human being. Remember they said a stable genius. I am the most stable human being. I've been doing this for a long time. We had 4 years of greatness. We had the greatest economy in history. We had the greatest border. Brian, you were down there.
Absolutely.
We had a border that was the best we've ever had in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. I built 551 miles of wall, which is far more than I said I was going to build when I campaigned. I had a border where the drugs were at the lowest level, the human traffickers in women, they traffic in women. Everything was at the lowest level. I got kudos from, the Border Patrol gave me, with thousands of people, unanimous, every single one.
They endorsed you, Mr. President.
They endorsed me. What can you do better than that?
And, Mr. President, you're gaining with minorities. And, I've been going across the country to these barbershops. Yesterday, you said you wanted to go. So we went to the Bronx yesterday. Here's a little bit of what we saw at the barbershop.
You guys are the same as me. It's the same stuff. We were born the same way. I grew up in Queens and all of that. I mean, it's. I had a great father. I had a father who was a great guy. He was tough but good, big heart, big heart. and he was a construction guy, pretty much, and a real estate guy. And I learned a lot from him. He was great. But I know you people so well without knowing you. I know you so well. When I walked in here, I said, this is home territory.
So, Mr. President, we're going to play the full thing on Monday, but what was that experience like? There was so much love in the room.
It was like people that I grew up with, actually. You know, all different types, everything perfect. The area was incredible. The traffic, there were thousands and many thousands of people standing outside this barbershop. The owner was great with the son. The son is actually the owner. He's already made that passage. But the people were fantastic. We could have stayed there for 2 hours, right? It was great.
Why do you think they're giving you a shot? They haven't voted for Republicans in years like this. So what are you doing on the ground differently that is attracting black men, Hispanic men?
I just saw a Hispanic poll where I'm at 52%. Nobody's ever seen that before. Republicans never been there before. I'm at 52%. And with black men, I'm at 32% and 31%. This is sort of throwing their formulas off a little bit. You know, this is a little bit of a change. But look, we ran a great country. We had everything going. The world respected us. We had no wars. This group will cause us World War III. They have no idea what they're doing. And, you know, I hate to talk that way, but we can't let this woman get in. It's two people. And she's and you talk about unstable. She's a whack job. And how about the vice president? How about Waltz? I mean, he's not qualified to be doing this. He is. I mean, you have to look at the vice president very seriously. And you compare him and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, #1 at Yale. You know, the whole thing. I mean, high academic. I mean, J.D. is doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and he was with us on the yesterday. Joined us from the Washington D.C. area. One of the things about Fox and Friends, we've been doing the show for like 28 years. But one of the biggest days was the day you became president, and we actually got to do the very first interview at the White House after you were sworn in, and it was a great interview, and it made a lot of news. Ainsley asked a great question in 2017, and we're gonna get in the Wayback Machine, Mr. President. We're gonna play that for you, and then we're gonna update the question.
But you know the difference? In the old days, you never played negative ads. In other words, when I leave here, I'll then be hit by 5 or 6 ads. And in the old days, you never had Ian
Fox
Sams.
News.
Yeah. Well, in the old days. But in the old days, which wasn't so... when I leave, I'll have 12 people from Kamala on, and, you know, pretty much unopposed. For 19 days, I don't think we should do that anymore. I think you shouldn't play negative ads. It's very tough. You do a show, and I complain all the time about it. I love complaining. I love complaining. I like to have everything perfect. But when I leave here, I'll have 200 people from
Because they buy time on Fox.
and, you know, by the time you do it, you say, what are you doing? It's sort of a net, net neutral. Well, we'll see what happens.
This is not an ad. This is actually, here we are in the East Room of the White House, your president, 2017. Ainsley's got a great question for you. Watch this.
What grade would you give yourself from an A to an F?
Well,
I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, let's hear it.
I think, no, I wouldn't do that. I think in terms of effort, which means something, but I give myself an A+, okay, effort. But that's, you know, results are more important. In terms of messaging, I would give myself a C or a C+.
And that surprised us. So here we are, years later. I don't remember those young people right there.
I know.
What kind of a grade would you give yourself for the campaign thus far? You got 2.5 more weeks.
So look, I've had 3 campaigns, and I won the first one. I did much better in the second one, getting millions more votes. And this one, I can say there's more enthusiasm, and we had a lot of enthusiasm for both. You know, I won. We got 10 to 12 million votes more the second time, which is a lot. Never happened before. I think this is the best campaign so
A for effort?
Oh, for effort.
What about for...
Nobody works
What
like
about for
me.
the message?
I think I have to go higher than an A.
So what about messaging?
Well, a message, I'll have to tell you that in, you know, on the 6th, I think.
All about results.
Because I don't know. I think it's all about results. I mean, the message, I think I'm saying, look, the message is we're going to do a great job. We're not going to get into wars. We're not going to have a third world war. So importantly, we're going to have a strong border. We're going to have the greatest economy. We're going to bring back the economy. We're not going to have inflation. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get energy prices down at least 50% in 1 year.
Right.
And I'll put that on your show so you can interview me in a year if I don't do it. But we're going to bring energy prices down. That's going to bring the inflation and the costs down. Now, we're going to make this thing really good. We're going to bring a lot of companies back in to the U.S. Jobs are going to be good. Everything is going to be good. And everything was good when we had the greatest economy in the history of the country 5 years ago. Go back in. 5 years ago, we had the greatest economy in the history of the country. And now we have a horrible economy from the standpoint that inflation ruined. I had no inflation. Inflation ruined the economy, just ruined it. And I gave them inflation-free. I gave them almost no inflation. And it carried on for 2 years. And then they went out and borrowed like $7 trillion, which was so stupid to do. And when they borrowed that, it all blew up. The other thing they did is they blew up the energy policy. I had the best energy policy this country has ever had. We were energy independent. We will soon be energy independent and energy dominant. We'll be selling all over the world.
So I watched your Univision, your Univision town hall, and one thing stood out to me. They said one of the questions was, "Hey, what would you like to do again? What would you do different?" He goes, "Well, I probably wouldn't have hired some of the people I hired. So I want to just look forward." So as people have 18 days, they're going to vote, and as Jim Gaffigan said, I can't believe anybody's undecided at this point.
I know.
But let's say he votes. Can you give people?
True.
That was a great line. Can you give people a vision of what your cabinet will look like? Can you throw out some of the names? Because you don't need a binder from Chris Christie or Jared Kushner. No. You know it. So can you give people out there who you're going to be making a rough... You could easily punt on this question. I hope you won't. An idea of what your team will look like.
Well, a lot of the people that you had last night will be a part of it. We had some tremendous people. In that room really had some great people.
Wait, Cardinal Dolan?
Oh, I'd put him in, right?
Right?
Honestly, and he looked good. He lost weight. He looked nice and thin. I said,
He's the
"What are you
nicest
doing?"
guy, isn't he?
Right? No, he's a great guy, and that's why I did it to a large. You know, by the way, he called me during COVID, and he said the Catholic Church needs billions of dollars to keep the school going, and the schools are, you know, they run great schools. And I got him the money during COVID, and I think it meant a lot to him. I think it meant a lot to the Catholic people. I got him $1.7 billion, and they had a great school system during COVID, and they kept it open.
I know I did a feature with him then. I know you're doing the weave, so you always come back. So just to the question, can you throw some names out of the people?
I thought I got out of it.
No, you told me the weave. You told me about the weave.
No, it's all about the weave. You know, sometimes I get, they say, it's either genius, it's so brilliant, I go from here, and then it being... But you always come right back to where it's supposed to be.
I just want you to complete
Some say it's
weave.
total genius. Some say, oh, well, what's going on here? No, it's pretty good, I tell you. Look, I think it's a little bit early. I have great people at every position, but I don't like talking.
Have you pre-thought it?
Like maybe every minute of every day.
You said RFK Jr.
Oh, he's going to be a part of it. You know, he
Bergen.
had a big impact because he's very much into women's health, and he's very much into the environment, which a lot of people like. People really like him. He looked good last night.
He's in very good shape.
Yeah, he is in good shape. I saw the pictures of him with the whole thing.
And you don't take your shirt off and bench press if you're not in good shape.
No, it's pretty good.
Hey, so you got a question?
I'd do it. Would you like me to do it?
I would like you to do that.
It seems that
One day.
we know Pennsylvania, Michigan, two very important states. It looks like this might come down to Pennsylvania. Elon Musk has been there campaigning for you. Why do you think he is so vocal and such an avid supporter?
Well, he said that if we don't win, this country is finished. He actually says it. He says, you know, that they are the threat to democracy. They're all about sound bites, and these people are sick. They have people. You know, I talk about the enemy from within. What person wants to have open borders? What person wants to have men playing in women's sports? All of this stuff, it doesn't make sense. It's no good. It's horrible. But they have an open border. They're going to always have an open border. We'll have it. So they let 21 million people into our country. Of the 21 million, 13,000 were murderers. 13,099 to be exact. Drug deal, and this is all over the world. This isn't just South America. Drug dealers came in. Everybody's coming in. They emptied their jails from all over the world. They emptied their jails into our beautiful country. We have a problem. I mean, you know, we have to straighten it out. We have to get these people out. They empty jails from all over the world. Jails. In those jails, you have dealers, you have murderers, you have gang members. They took all their gangs in Venezuela, dumped them into the United States. You know, Venezuela crime is down 72% because their criminals are in the United States, and it's going down further.
So, Mr. President, how do you handle that? Because you're right. They're here. You see Trinidad Agua taking over apartment complex.
Yeah.
Read the New York Post.
Although ABC says, oh, it's just a handful of apartment
Can you
complexes.
believe it?
How would you like them in
Well, no,
your
the
community?
Democrats say, well, it's not that bad. They've taken over big sections of the town with weapons that the Army doesn't
So,
even
Mr.
have.
President, after you get rid of the criminals, okay, you wipe out all the gangs, all the people that are raping people in this country, the sexual assault, you get rid of them in the country. You get ICE funded and they're deported.
By the way,
how do you handle
it's a
the
big
rest?
proportion.
It is a huge
people.
proportion.
It's a
How
big-
do you handle the next portion?
Okay,
the
then we
people
s-
that
then
broke the
we
law
s-
to come in here, but
Then we start thinking.
Okay.
Then we start thinking. Because, you know, look, you're talking about millions of people. You're talking about 21 million people in 3 years. Just so you know, they will let this happen. If they win the election, they're going to open up the border, and the border is going to be open for 4 years. You'll have 200 million people come in.
Right.
We have no idea. They tend to be not the best for a reason, because the countries send them out. The countries are not sending their best people out. I've been saying this for a long time. They're not sending
your
their
original,
best.
your very first speech,
Because
you said
it's-
they're not sending in their
It's
best.
common sense, Brian.
So-
when a country sends people out, they're not saying, "Hey, let's take our best people and send them to the U.S." They're sending their rapists. They're sending their murderers. We have a big country. Look at what's happening in Springfield, Ohio. Look at what's happening though in Aurora. Aurora is amazing. Do you know there are many Auroras right now, but you haven't heard about them?
San Antonio, we just interviewed a man running for Congress down there, said this is happening at an apartment complex down there.
It's only going to get worse.
So let's talk about when you look at the positives.
By the way,
mail-
Frank, they're destroying our country. Destroying
I know.
this country.
I know they took over Randall's Island. The kids can't even play soccer. They just took over.
I
New
looked
York
at.
City.
I'm telling you, I drove down Madison Ave. First time I've ever seen vacant stores, and I see migrants from foreign countries. The people that came in,
Yeah.
they're sleeping all over the streets.
Can I get you that? When you look at your positives, obviously with men, it's through the roof. You're making gains in Hispanics, blacks. I understand that. But when the doors close and the team sits around you, they say, Mr. President, you got to do better with women. That's where where the Kamala Harris is excelling with women. Is one move to get women on your side is to get Ivanka out, Melania out, and especially Nikki Haley out in these final 18 days. Is that something that's coming out of your strategy session?
Look, I think I do very well with women, and I think it's all nonsense. I see the polls, and we do well.
What about the
You
Nikki
have one
Haley?
issue. You have the issue of abortion. Without abortion, the women love me. Now, they like me anyway because what I've done is so good. I've taken this issue out of the federal government and put it back to the states where they're voting. And I believe in exceptions, and most people do, for rape and rape, incest, life of the mother. But I've done so, and I think I've taken an issue.
So could I amend my
'Cause
question then?
let me just say, that issue has torn our country apart for 52 years. No legal scholar, no Democrat, Republican, no liberal, conservative wanted it to be in Congress. They wanted it to be out of the federal government. I got it out through 6 very brave judges who were also brilliant. And now they're voting. Ohio voted, and it's actually a very liberal vote. Kansas, very liberal vote. But people are voting. They wanted it to be in the states and a vote of the people. But that issue, maybe some women.
Okay.
But they're going to find.
I'm going to do
the
a subset
country's
of that
gonna-
question.
Well, the country's coming together now over that, and they're getting to vote. They're actually voting on the issue.
There's a segment of the Republican Party that likes Nikki Haley, and they are reluctant to jump into your column. She wants to help. She said, if he calls me, I'm there. You guys used to be tight. In the last 18 days, will you call her and say, come out with me?
Yeah, I'll do what I have to do. But let me just tell you, Nikki Haley and I fought, and I beat her by 50, 60, 90 points. I beat her in her own state by numbers that nobody's ever been beaten by. I beat Nikki badly. I beat everyone else, too, badly. Frankly, I set records, both in speed and in the magnitude of the win. And everybody keeps saying that. They don't say get Ron, and Ron did very well. But again, I beat everybody by numbers that have never happened before. And they keep talking about Nikki. I like Nikki. Nikki, I don't think should have done what she did, and that's fine that she did it. But even in her own state, in South Carolina, where she was the governor, I beat her by a number that nobody ever heard, by 50 points or something. And then they say, oh, when is Nikki coming back in? Nikki is in. Nikki is helping us already. But it's just people keep saying, when are you bring? They don't say, when are you bringing this one? Everybody is in, and Nikki is already in. You know, she's out campaigning. And Elon Musk is look, I watched a rocket ship land 4 days ago.
That was stunning.
I watched our rocket ship. You talk about people. This guy is unbelievable. I was on the phone. I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and I'm half falling asleep. An important guy, but a very boring guy. And I'm like this. And the television's sort of like the sound is off. And I see this massive, like 20 story, you know, things like 20 stories tall. And I'm looking. I thought it was a space movie or something.
Yeah.
This guy is so brilliant, and I watch it come down, and you can see it's still in good shape, but it's burned to hell because it was traveling at 10,000 miles an hour, you know, through it's like a piece of fire, and it's coming down, and I said, oh man, that's going to crash into the gantry.
This is not good.
Right?
Right.
And I said, well, and then I see the two arms grab it, boom, and it's like perfect. I said, that could only be Elon. I called, he said, that was me. So think of it. This guy is campaigning. He is actually campaigning for me in Pennsylvania.
Right.
He thinks that my winning, and a lot of people love him. I mean, he is. You know what he did with that Starlink? How he helped North Carolina
Yes.
It was huge.
and
so
Georgia.
grateful.
I mean, they had no communication.
I was there.
He had it there in record time. I called him. I said, could you do? They asked me, do I know him? Yes, I know. He gave me the nicest endorsement, really, of anybody.
So, Mr.
Having his endorsement meant a lot.
So, Mr. President, we got some viewer questions.
Yeah.
They wanted to set it up for you. Ainsley has the first one.
Well, okay, so this is, she was watching the show yesterday, Paula. She lives in Claxton, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard of the Claxton Fruitcake Company,
I have.
the largest fruitcake company in the world.
We get
I
it
think.
every Christmas.
Yeah, they sell them Walmart and all
There is
kinds,
no number
Sam's
10.
store.
I want one immediately.
So she's part of the family that produces these fruitcakes, and she had a question for you.
Yeah.
Here's Paula.
Good morning, President Trump. My name is Paula Parker Claxton. My family owns a wholesale and retail fruitcake bakery in Claxton, Georgia. When you're elected President of the United States, what plans do you have to curb the rising cost of operating a small business, inflation, and labor costs?
I'm going to get your energy down to the lowest it's been. We're going to get it down by 50% immediately. Those ovens that you use are going to be half price. You will be so happy because I'm bringing it down with energy.
You're going to allow gas ovens?
Energy, and we're going to allow gas stoves, all the gas stoves you want. That's the other thing. They're restricting all the good stuff.
Yeah.
They're restricting it. You're going to have a beautiful gas stove, and you're going to have, mark my words,
Beautiful.
your energy costs will be 50% down. That's going to bring everything else down. You're going to love Trump.
Terrific. You know, Mr. President, that event you were at last night raises millions of dollars, a lot for, you know, Catholic schools here in the New York City area. We've got a question from Anthony in Wisconsin, a swing state, and it's about school choice. Listen to this.
I am Anthony from Appleton, Wisconsin. I have high-functioning autism, but my autism means I am only allowed to go to public schools that teach things and promote things against my values and faith. This makes life hard and confusing. When you become president, what can you and J.D. Vance do to help other students like me to have a choice of schools?
School choice.
Well, thank you very
What a smart
much. And it's
kid.
all about school choice. You know, that's one of the biggest things on my platform. It's about school choice, and it's also, we're going to get it out of Washington. If you look at our schools, we spend more per pupil than any other country. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, I hate to say this, China, can you believe? Top 5. They have great school programs. We are number 40, which is sort of like at the bottom of the list. We spend more per pupil than we're moving it all out of Washington, and we're going to let the states run the schools. So you give the schools to Iowa, they're going to be another Norway. It's going to be great. You give them to so many different states. Indiana, they're dying to do it. They can do it for less than half, and you will have those states competing with the best.
Get rid of the Department of Education?
It's going to go.
Right.
And every building in Washington, you know, you go by Department of Education. I'm going to have one person working there, maybe with a secretary. I don't mean a secretary.
You want it all. You want it all to be local now.
Stenographer, because we want to make sure they're teaching English, right? let's say, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
None of the
Lovely.
books.
Not
Well-
transgender. We're not going to be heavy
What
into
about our
trans-
history?
Right. Well, and
All of that, absolutely.
Mr. President, the key about school choice is there are a lot of people who would love to be able to take the money that that they put into taxes
right.
and put it into a different school, not the public school, but the Catholic school, the private
Like
school.
Arizona.
Yeah.
So, Mr. President, we got a question.
And you're on board with
School
that.
choice is one of the most important things we're going to be doing.
Absolutely.
Because we have the worst. Think of it. Out of 40, we're number 40. And yet we're number 1 when it comes to spending per pupil. Does that sound good?
Well, there's a bill that just passed the Ways and Means Committee. You know, it could pass in your first 100 days as president. Sounds like you'd sign it.
I would sign it. Anything to do with school choice, also.
Okay.
But also, separate from school choice, we're going to take the Department of Education, close it. I'm going to close it. We'll have one person, could be you if you decide to retire. You
Okay.
could-
Mr.
No, he'd be-
President, here's what
he'd be
bothers me.
Central Casting.
Here's what bothers me about that. So let's say you have a liberal city, let's Los Angeles, San Diego, and they just decide we're going to get rid of that history. We got new history. This is America built off the backs of slaves on stolen land.
Then
And
we
that
don't send
curriculum
them
comes in.
Then we don't send them money. We would save half of our budget.
Okay.
And we're going to send. But if they want to do that,
Because you
we
do
don't
lose
send
control when you go
them.
low.
We've lost control. We're
Already
number
have.
40. We're last on the list. We're the worst there is, and we spend more money than. And a lot of states, look, you know what's going to happen. The states that are well run now, like, I don't want to say specifically but you take Indiana. It's so nice. No debt, everything is good. Our beautiful Iowa, right, that I win
Yeah.
every time. Take every one of those states. So let's say out of the 50, we have close to 40 like that. Then you have the laggards run by guys like Gavin Newsom, who is, you probably won't do as well there, but there you have to watch it a little bit more.
Right.
But no, if they want to get cute, then you don't send them the money.
So, Mr. President, we got a question from my home state of Texas. This is Don. He has a question about accomplishments.
Good morning, Mr. President. My name is Don Albright. I live in Katy, Texas. My question is, what is something that you did not accomplish in your first term that you would like to accomplish in this term?
Well, you know, we had a great first term. We had the greatest economy we've ever had. We had the strongest borders we've ever had. We rebuilt the entire U.S. military. Unfortunately, they gave a lot of it to Afghanistan in one of the worst times ever. I think the biggest thing for me in terms of government is great people. I had great people. I had a lot of great, like Bob Lighthizer and Fred. We had great people. But I had a couple of clinkers that I would not want again. And I didn't know, you have to understand, I was there 17 times in my entire life. All of a sudden, I'm president. I'm saying, wait a minute. And people are recommending different people. Of the people, usually we got it right, but there were some ones that we didn't get right. I now know everybody in Washington. I think it's been enforced. I know people in Washington that nobody ever heard of.
Now you'll be the most experienced president.
I think I'll be the most experienced guy. I know the good ones, the bad ones, the dumb ones, the smart ones, the loyal ones,
Right.
the people that want to.
What about the list of the dumb ones? Let's hear that.
Oh, I give you a list. of
All
them.
the people that were
most
involved.
of them. Most of them are the people that I fired. You know, when you fire, you know, Biden has never fired anybody. Never. He should have fired a lot of generals and a lot of people for Afghanistan, as an example. I took out ISIS. I promote people. I beat ISIS. It was supposed to take 5 years. It took 1 month. I did it in 1 month. We have unbelievable generals. We have unbelievable military, but not the guys like Milley that you see on television all the time. We have great people.
Are those generals fired when you're there? Because some of the people
fired a
involved
lot
with
of them.
Afghanistan are still
Almost
dead.
every person that speaks badly of me. Look, firing, I know a lot about firing. When you fire somebody, you can do it nicely and take a year and just, you know, not working out, blah, blah, blah. I've done that. And I've done it. Get out, you're fired. Get out. And
I saw that on TV.
But can I tell you, I did quite well. So I've done it always. You know, at the end, when you get fired, you get fired. It doesn't matter. You might as well just do it quickly. And then if you're famous, like me, they read a book.
Right.
Because the sleazebags come out and they offer them $1 million to write a book. And then sometimes they'll say, I want to make it good. No, we're not interested in a good book. We're only... So I end up with more books than, you know, I just end up... And I end up with... It is true. If Bush fired somebody, nobody cares about Bush. They couldn't care less about Bush. I think you do. You're like, oh, you like Bush.
I do.
I'll use it. Let me use it differently.
Are you like W? You guys get along?
He's fine. Well, yeah, but I disagreed with what he did so much. I
Right.
just disagreed with.
So you like
I
him-
really did. I disagreed with what
But-
got us into the Middle East. We spent $10 trillion. We got nothing. So Except death.
So you like kids? Here's a 10-year-old from Tennessee has a question for the 45th president.
President Trump, I'm Daniel, and I'm 10, and I'm from Tennessee. What was your favorite president when you were little?
Who was your favorite president when you were little?
So I liked Ronald Reagan. I thought he was. Look, I didn't love his trade policy. I'm a very good trade. I've made some great trade deals for us, the USMCA. That wasn't his strength, but he had a great dignity about him, Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
You could say, there's our president, more than any others, really any of the others. Great presidents, well, Lincoln was probably a great president, although I've always said, why wasn't that settled? You know, I'm a guy that, it doesn't make sense. We had a civil war.
Well, half the country left before he got there.
Yeah, but you'd almost say, like, why wasn't that? As an example, Ukraine would have never happened, and Russia, if I were president. Israel would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. As you know, Iran was broke. They wanted to make a deal. I told anybody buys any oil from Iran, you're finished. You know, you can't deal with the United States. Nobody was buying oil from Iran. They came. They wanted to make a deal. Now they have $300 billion in cash. Biden has been, and her, I don't know if she was involved in it, but she's terrible. Hey, look, remember this. She was the border czar. She never went there.
Right.
She was the border czar and the Border Patrol. The one thing you have to remember, the Border Patrol gave the strongest endorsement that anybody's ever seen. He's the best there is. There's never been. He's the greatest president, the greatest at the border. And she's terrible. That was their policy. And these guys are great, by the way. These are great. You know them very well from the show.
Oh, yeah.
We got the best endorsement, and that really says it all. And I think the border is a bigger thing than inflation and the economy. You know, I watch your polling where it says the economy and inflation at number 1, 2, and then it says, always says, like the 3. I think the border is bigger. I got elected in 2016 on the border. I did a great job. I couldn't even mention it after that because nobody cared because it was fixed. We had a great border. Then they blew it. Right. And I have to do it again. The difference is it's much worse this time
Right.
because they're allowing millions of people into our country that shouldn't be here.
So, Mr. President, we got a fun one.
But we'll fix it.
We got a 6-year-old from Massachusetts, and he wants to know about your favorite animal. Let's watch.
Mr. President, my name is Briar. I'm 6 years old. I live on the farm in Massachusetts. What's your favorite farm animal?
Favorite farm animal?
What's the animal?
Well, this guy grew up in the city.
I'll tell you what I love. I love cows. But if we go with Kamala, you won't have any cows anymore because you're not allowed. I don't want to ruin this kid's day. But I love cows. I think they're so cute and so beautiful and so productive. But according to Kamala, who's a radical left lunatic, you will not have any cows anymore. So we have to vote her out. If you like cows, you have to vote.
I know. Mr. President, I got a question for you. Either today or tomorrow, you're going to McDonald's. You're going to be working the fryer. Are you going to wear the paper hat?
I'm going to do everything. I tell you what.
You're going to do it.
A friend of mine owns
He is going to do it.
McDonald's someplace. Oh, I'm going. Because she lied.
You don't think she ever worked at McDonald's?
I know she did. We checked it out. Unless somebody comes up with something. We checked it out. They said she never worked here. She even picked the store. We went to the manager. The manager's been there forever. You remember her? No, she never worked here. They know. Okay.
No,
so will you wear the paper hat?
She won't. And you know who else stopped talking about it? The press. If I said I worked at McDonald's and it turned out not to be true, this would be the biggest story ever. The front page of that stupid New York Times, the worst paper. It is the worst rag. The New York Times is the worst most to say. They would have me front page for months. Nobody, I can't get any. That's why I have to do it myself. That's why I'm doing it.
So you're going to get trained and you're going to make French fries.
Well, I don't know how much the training will be.
Not too much salt.
It's not going to be.
Just about that much.
I love that so.
I don't know how you do it. You were at the barber shop yesterday in the Bronx. You did the Al Smith dinner last night. You probably didn't get home until 1 or 2 in the morning. And
you know what else I did?
And then you're here.
Well, I got in. Okay, this was a crazy day. We did your thing. I did 5 other things. And then on top of it, I came back and I was really, really like tight because I'm the keynote speaker at the Al Smith. So what happens is I said, let's go. I want to go. Sir, you have an interview with Tyrus. He's a large guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Is he a great guy? And
He's
he's a very smart guy.
He is great.
And he's been so good to me. And he said, listen, there's no election here. You're going to win this thing in election. And he's been saying that for a long time.
Yes.
Whenever they talk about, he's funny. And Gutfeld is great. You know,
Right.
he didn't like me originally, and then he said,
Well, I don't
gets
like
everything
Gutfeld,
done.
but you can like him.
"Do you not like
Yeah,
me?"
we-
No,
Like,
he
no,
likes
he's great.
him. Yeah.
But he had the
They're like
highest,
brothers.
He had his
Yeah.
highest rating in the history of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're
But
proud
anyway,
of him.
But Tyrus, he has a website, and he said, "Would you do my show?" So like 2-3 weeks, I agreed. So I came home. I'm running because I'd like to at least see my speech, you know, like before I get up before all these killers. And I'm running, and Sir Tyrus is waiting for you. Oh, and I have to put on a tuxedo. In theory, white tie, but a lot of people didn't have white tie, but they had tuxedo. And I'm running in, and you know what I did? Rather than saying, "Tyrus, I can't make it," I said, "Let's go, Tyrus. Let's do a quick one." So I knocked it out. That was a
All
busy
right.
day.
Well, I know
You're going to be
you guys-
back
Great
on
guy.
it.
He's great.
He's a great guy.
And Mr. President, you're going to be back on the campaign. Actually, you got another event to go to. So
Yeah, he's
thank you
very
for giving
busy.
us some
So thank
time.
You know what
so
the
much.
event I have now?
No.
A very big event. I'm going to see Rupert Murdoch.
All right.
That's a big event. I don't know if
That's
he's
important.
thrilled that I say it.
Please, yeah, please tell
And
him
I'm
we
going
all
to
said
tell
thank
him.
you.
I'm going to tell him something very simple
Go ahead.
because I can't talk to anybody else about. Don't put on negative commercials for 21 days. Don't put them, and don't put on their horrible people that come and lie. I'm going to say, Rupert, please do it this way.
Right.
And then we're going to have a victory because I think everyone wants to have
And
a
you're
victory.
going to Outkick
Outkick
next.
to
It's,
talk
it's
to
a
him.
great channel that we have with Tyrus.
Oh, good.
There you go.
All right, Mr. President, thank you so much.
Mr.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.